So imagine this. You're a kid in a village. You wake up to birds chirping, cows mooing, and your mother already halfway through the day's farm work. You eat sadza for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You're sent to fetch water, herd goats, dig in the fields, and if you're lucky, maybe you get to swim in the river with that one girl who makes your stomach feel like a marimba. But something's changing. The forests you once feared are now just piles of stumps. The owls? Gone. The snakes? Also gone. But still, you can't shake the feeling that the spirits are getting restless. And that's exactly where our story begins. Welcome back to GM Bookshop, where we dive into African literature one story at a time. Today's book is a beautiful, sometimes haunting, often nostalgic journey into rural Zimbabwe. But before I reveal the title, let's walk through the story. Meet Godi, our young narrator. His father works in the city. You know, one of those dads who shows up for Christmas with factory shoes and promises, but keeps a farm and a family in the village. Godi lives with his mother and siblings in a village nestled in the northern parts of Zimbabwe. Now this village is paradise, at least it used to be.
10 years previously, owls had been part of the village. But now when an owl hooted, people woke up with throbbing hearts to listen.
Back in the day, if you shook a fruit tree too hard, you might get lost in the forest. If you walked with an upturned axe blade, the gods might withhold the rain. It was that serious. But then came the drought. Not 1 year, not 2, 7 years of bad crops and dry fields. The government, in all its infinite wisdom, decided to resettle people into the fertile north. They called them Darukas, the newcomers. So now imagine hundreds of families arriving in a village that wasn't even big enough to host a decent soccer match. Forests were cleared, land was fenced, and fruit trees, once sacred, were now fair game.
Even fruits, which at first were picked from beneath the trees, were now harvested in their green state and stored for ripening to take place.
Children would pelt the trees with stones, collect the green fruit, and hawk them to bus passengers. Capitalism starts early, right? And in the middle of all this was Heinemann, an absolute legend. If by legend you mean a corrupt, slovenly man who could be bribed with alcohol and cigarettes.
Heinemann, a Sloven patriarch whose requirement for land lies in the provision of alcohol and cigarettes.
What a guy. But things didn't just stop at land. With the influx of people came conflict. Over values, over resources, over identity. Culture was changing, the environment was collapsing, and people were beginning to whisper about the spirits. You see, when people began dying mysteriously, no coughs, no fever, just dead, the new headman, Simon, decided it was time to take things seriously.
He called in the best shaman in the locality to sniff out the witches and wizards.
Now, in most modern African novels, the author would have used this moment to mock traditional beliefs. You know, throw in a progressive, enlightened character who rolls their eyes at witchcraft and calls it rural superstition, not Chinodya. Even though Godi and his mother are Christian, they submit to the shaman's authority. The novel doesn't mock or praise, it simply observes. And that's what makes it so powerful. Because the real magic in this book isn't in the witchcraft, it's in the change. We follow Godi as he navigates this changing world. His education in the city makes him different from the village kids. He develops a crush on a girl from a nearby village, we've all been there, and spends Sundays walking half a day just to see her. And slowly, as the forest disappears and the village gets noisier, we see a kind of mourning take place. Not just for the trees or the owls, but for a way of life.
Now the forests were gone and people had become restless. The owls did not hoot anymore. Snakes no longer came slithering across compound clearings attracted by firelight.
It's a haunting, poetic line. It hits you. Meanwhile, the gender roles are as rigid as the village fence. Godi and his brothers get educated in the city. The girls, they stay home, help in the fields, and carry the weight of tradition. Chinodya doesn't lecture, he just shows us. And that's the beauty of this novel. It doesn't preach, it presents. This, my friends, is Dew in the Morning by Shimmer Chinodya. First published in 1982 and written when Chinodya was just 18 years old, this novel is a masterclass in subtle, layered storytelling. It captures the rural Zimbabwean experience during a time of flux, without ever slipping into nostalgia or judgment. Let's talk themes. 1. Environmental change. This is the heart of the novel. The forests are the soul of the village, and as they disappear, so does a sense of spiritual balance. It's an early ecological novel before the term was fashionable. Cultural collision. The Darukas bring new habits. Old superstitions clash with urban Christianity. Sacred traditions bend under pressure. Chinodya shows us a culture negotiating its own survival. Gender inequality. Girls stay back. Boys move forward. It's a quiet critique, but it's powerful. Spirituality and witchcraft. Rather than ridicule, Chinodya explores it as a serious and deeply integrated part of life. Even Christians don't escape its influence. And here's what I loved most. This is not a novel about rural people yearning for city life. Chinodya refuses to romanticize the city or demonize the village. The author presented it as it is, and unlike many of such novels, refrained from assigning ascribed needs to rural denizens and portraying them as in dire need of things they know nothing about. Exactly. So who is Shimmer Chinodya? Born in 1957 in Gweru, Zimbabwe, Chinodya grew up in a large family and went on to study English literature and education at the University of Zimbabwe. Later, he earned a master's in creative writing from the Iowa Writers' Workshop, an elite program with alumni like Flannery O'Connor and John Irving. He's best known for his later novel Strife, which won the Noma Award for Publishing in Africa in 2008. But Dew in the Morning remains one of the most authentic, grounded portrayals of Zimbabwean rural life I've ever read. If you want a novel that doesn't scream its message but whispers truth through story, if you want to feel the morning mist of a village long gone, and if you want to see how a young writer can capture an entire world with compassion and clarity, read Dew in the Morning. It's a book about change, not just around you, but within you. I'll see you in the next video, probably under another tree with another book telling another African story. Hey, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you're interested in diving deeper into this book, I've left some links down in the description. You can use it to grab yourself a copy and keep the adventure going. And if you're in the mood for more great reads, don't go just yet. Click on one of the videos popping up right now that I think you'll love. And don't forget to give this review a like, leave a comment, or even subscribe if you'd like to see more. Every bit of support helps us grow this little community of book lovers. See you in the next one.